So I'm fully aware that it's late, and certainly Shavuos has a late theme, because we're going to be up all night learning Torah as it is. So I figured I would learn something with you today that could be used as something fun that you could learn late at night with whoever's up with you. I don't know about you, but the thing that keeps me awake the most is stories, right? Stories is the best thing to keep us engaged. I happen to also be an English teacher, but that's a side point. Um, we're going to start a little bit with a story. Rav Blau wrote this amazing book called Fresh Fruit and Vintage Wine. And he wrote it about Agadot. Agadot are the stories that appear in the Gemara. And it's really fascinating. I think it's something that unfortunately schools don't really focus on, and often even when we're learning Torah, a lot of people when they're learning Gemara, they kind of read through the Agadah and they're like, I don't know what that was about. That was totally confusing and weird and bizarre. I'm kind of just going to skip over that and move forward. And we want to get to the meat, right? The halacha that the Gemara talks about, but it's actually really fun to stop and pause and think a little bit about what some of these Agadot actually mean. So I want to focus today on a really fun story. But before we get to that, I want to just talk about Agadah in general. I'm going to share my screen so that you can see my little source sheet here. I told my students I finally get to make my source sheets in color. Because usually when you have to print, it has to be black and white. Now they get to be all colorful and happy. I hope that keeps you all engaged. I also, our story tonight is going to be about a seven-headed monster. I imagine it didn't actually look like that, but the fun part about making source sheets online also and not printing them is you can add some fun pictures and not be wasting space. So I added that little picture there. But I just want to talk about Agadah in general at first. There's this interesting thing that Rav Blau also brings in his book to talk about Agadah. He tells a little story. I have all the sources here, but I think I'm going to do the sources outside and just tell you what it says. So Rav Ami and Rav Asi come and hang out with Rav Yitzchak, and they want to hear some Torah from him, from Rav Yitzchak. And one of them says, I only want to hear Agadah. And the other one says, I only want to hear halacha. And so at first, Rav Yitzchak starts saying Agadah, and then the other guy is unhappy. And then he starts saying halacha, and the other guy is unhappy. And anybody who teaches will totally identify with this. But he couldn't make anybody happy. And so he said, I'm going to tell you a mashal. I'm going to tell you a little parable about what we can compare this to. And he says, imagine if a man had two wives. One was an older wife and one was a younger wife. And the younger wife wanted the husband to look younger like her. So she started pulling out all of his gray hairs. And the older wife was upset. She wanted the husband to look more her age. So she started pulling out all his black hair so that he would only have gray hair left. And what ended up happening was the man just became bald because all of his hair was pulled out by the end. And he uses this as an explanation for why you can't really have one without the other. You can't really have halacha without the Agadah and the Agadah without the halacha, right? You need to have that combo, because without one of them, right, if you're pulling out one of them, you're going to end up with nothing, because ultimately somebody's going to want one, somebody's going to want the other, and you're going to end up with nothing. And so really it's all about the combination. And I think what this combination is all about is, halacha is not just a book, right? It's not meant to be just a code of laws. It's meant to be lived, right? The word halacha comes from the word holech, right? To walk. It's how we are. It's how we live it in real life. And Agadah, the story parts, are the parts where we get to actually see how these halachot are actually lived, how they're expressed in real life. So I just wanted to give that little intro there because I thought that was fun. It's kind of funny that he explained his point with the story, because I think that's the best way to explain things. And I also put in a little comic there about stories in general. You can have a little fun with that. So I think that the story we're going to learn, the story about the seven-headed monster that we're going to get to in a second, is actually very appropriate for the time period we're in now, and the time period of, of Shavuos that's coming up, right between Sfira and Shavuos. I think this is, this will fit right in. You'll see why. I want to just give credit where credit's due. I did a little stint at Ramaz a little while ago, and I learned a lot of what I'm going to tell you from Rabbi Stochel, who works there, the principal there. So I just wanted to give a little credit there. All right. So hopefully you read the comic by now. Give you a little time for that. But we're going to move on to the actual story. Now, the way I broke it up here is we're first going to learn a halacha. Then we're going to hear somebody doing the halacha. And then we're going to hear a weirdo story that kind of attaches to this whole halacha. And we're going to have to try to understand why in the world it's attached. Okay? And I would like, I know in Mr. Wiener's speech, there's a lot of participation. So I would love to engage everybody. So as we read this story, there are going to be a lot of questions that come to mind. I would love either you could unmute yourself right after we go through the story, or you could write it in the chat. Any questions that come up, because this is a very bizarre story that I'm sure will lead you to have many questions. So at first, we'll read this one inside. So we hear a halacha. The Gemara tells us halacha. Tanu Rabbanan, hu lilmod ubno lilmod, hu kodem libno. Let's say I have a situation where, father and son are both, big Talmidei Chachamim. They want to go learn, but they can't both learn. They can't both go learn. Somebody has to take care of the household, right? They're not rolling in the cash. They have to have somebody taking care of the house. Somebody has to be sacrificed, right? One person gets to go learn Torah. One person has to stay home. So if you have a kind of a pull between the father and the son, who gets to go? The father gets to go. I guess the assumption is he's wiser, he's more experienced, he knows a little more. He'll gain more. He gets prioritized over his son. But Rabbi Yehuda makes a little caveat. He says, Rabbi Yehuda Omer, im bno zariz umimulach v'talmudo mitkayem biyado b'no kudmo. Rabbi Yehuda says, hold on. If you have a son who's really, really bright, maybe he's exceptionally diligent and sharp, he gets to go over the father. But in general, the father goes, okay? And then we have our Agada, okay? The first half of the Agada makes a lot of sense. We have a story, Ki hadar Rav Yaakov Brei Rav Acha bar Yaakov, the son of, there was a man named Rav Acha bar Yaakov and his son, Shadra Avua Lakame da Abaye, Ki ata chazia de lo hava mechadedin shmarta. So Yaakov, his son, went to the yeshiva of Abaye, but when he came home, his father, Rav Acha, was like, you didn't learn enough, right? You're not sharp enough. I know I believed in you to become sharp enough, but you didn't really make it. I'm going to go instead of you next. Amar le, ana adifa minach. I'm a little better than you. I know what I'm talking about. Tuv at de'izel ana. I'm going to go instead of you, basically. You hang out here. I'm going back. You take care of the house. Not a bad deal. Okay? Now, all of that really made a lot of sense, right? You had a halacha, and then you had a story explaining the halacha. Here's where it gets a little bit bizarre. Shama Abaye de kahava ati. Abaye heard that this man, Rav Acha bar Yaakov, is coming to town, and he's going to be learning in his Beit Midrash. Havahu mazik be Rabbanan de Abaye. Dichi hava aile batrina filu biyamama havu mitzake. So Abaye, usually his yeshiva is booming with lots of people learning. Happens to be that recently there has been a demon living in the halls of Abaye, of his Beit Midrash, and it was attacking people even during the day. Usually the mazik, the demons, actually attacked at night, and they only attacked one person. Here it was attacking pairs of people, and it was attacking during the day. Very bizarre. Amar lehu lo litivle inishush biza efshar de midrachish nisa. He said, okay, guys, we're going to make a plan. No, Rav Acha's coming to town. Nobody invite him over. Nobody have him at your house, because what he's going to have to do is he's going to have to sleep in the Beit Midrash. He's going to get stuck. He's not going to have a place to sleep. He's going to have to sleep in the Beit Midrash. And maybe there will be a miracle that happens. Maybe a miracle will happen where somehow, because he's there, this weird demon thing will disappear. Okay? Al bat ba'hu bei rabbanan idmi le ketanina de shiva reshvate. He goes into this house and he's, having a good night's sleep when all of a sudden, in the middle of the night, appears a serpent with 7 heads. Okay, this is our 7-headed monster. Kol kriya dekara natar chad reshe. So what did he start to do? He started to bow. He started to bow down, and every time he bowed, 1 head fell off. So he only had to bow 7 times, if you're doing the math. Amar lahu. Afterwards, the next morning, he wakes up and he goes to the middle of the town. And he's like, "Why'd you do this to me? Hello, if I hadn't had a miracle occur, I would have died. Thanks a lot, guys, for throwing me in the lion's den." And this is our little story, okay? We had this normal story going on. We had a halacha. We had a little story telling us Rav Acha was going to go instead of his son Yaakov. It was going to be great, okay? Then we hear about a serpent. So there are a lot of strange things that happen here. I'm going to keep this up on here. We'll stop share for a second. Does anybody have any questions that they're asking in their head? Anything they could write on the chat, or you can say it out loud. What are some things that you're kind of wondering about now that you heard that? Yeah, Rivka, go ahead.
Is there any reason that Rashi states, or maybe the Tosfot, as to why there were 7 heads?
Okay, so 7 heads. Why 7? Where did 7 come from?
Right.
Right, Marsha's telling us that we're very familiar with this demon. Right, my sister Leora is asking, what's with the monster? Why is there even a monster in the first place? Is this a normal thing, a normal occurrence to have monsters appear in your Beit Midrash randomly? Any other questions that come up from this? What about Abaye? What role does he play in all of this?
He's looking like he's playing games with this other guy's life.
Yeah, he seems to be playing games. I mean, we have a principle that we don't rely on a miracle. We don't rely on them, right? In Somchen al Anes, we don't just expect a miracle to happen when we're in dangerous situations. And yet he's like, guys, don't protect him. Don't do anything for him. Let's just see what happens and hope for the best, right? That's really what it sounds like. So thank you for your questions. We're going to address all of them, hopefully. So Leora, you're getting right onto it. Leora, my sister, said they expect this miracle to happen. We're going to see that actually she's on the ball. So what was that?
So they knew that he would be getting rid of it, and they weren't worried about him being harmed because he was going to be doing a mitzvah.
Awesome. That's exactly. Okay, so we'll skip now to the Fiducia Agadot. Let me just quickly share my screen. You guys jumped to one of the answers. Very good. So I have a source here, the Fiducia Agadot, right, analyzing the Agada. I'm not going to read the whole thing inside, but essentially what he says is that they, like you said, they expected the miracle to happen. It was just a matter of how. How was this miracle going to happen? Is it because of his chasidus, as he says here? Or is it, right, and through his tefillah, it was just going to automatically happen? Or was it from menachin lo mizchuyotav? It was going to be taken from his zechuyot. Maybe Abaye expected that a miracle was going to happen, no matter what. It was for sure going to happen. It was just a matter of how. Is it going to be taken from his zechuyot? Is it going to be taken from his tefillah, from the fact that he davens? So great job, everybody. So that's one opinion. Another one is that Abaye was more nervous about Rav Acha being exposed to whatever was wrong with the community at the time that they deserved. They earned this. So on the one hand, they were the people must have been so bad that Abaye was so nervous that Rav Acha was going to be exposed to them and learn whatever was wrong with them, that he'd rather him stay in the Beit Midrash and hope that something good would happen. But it wasn't worth exposing Rav Acha Bar Yaakov to these other things, these other people. And another way to look at it is actually, if we think about it in a more figurative way, instead of thinking about it as literally, right, there is a monster that is a danger and a miracle has to happen in order for the person to be saved. If we think about it figuratively, Rav Acha is the good one. He's the good guy, right? And he alone is the only one who can save the people from the bad guy, right? And so he kind of is this presence that when he enters, hopefully everything else will kind of disappear, right? It's almost like he's the hero and there's a villain. And, but in a figurative sense, right? His presence, Abaye is hoping that his presence on his own, without anybody else there who's been a negative influence, will just kind of help the problem go away. So that's in a figurative sense. And I actually think there's another way of looking at it, that maybe Abaye was just wrong. If you look at the end of the Gemara there, Rav Acha calls him out on it, right? He's like, how could you do that to me? And that's actually the note we leave on, right? That's the note the story ends on, which is very strange. And so there is this feeling there that maybe Abaye didn't do the right thing. I'm not a fan of throwing rabbis under the bus here, but I'm just putting it out there that the Gemara doesn't seem to appreciate what he did either. So I just wanted to put those opinions out there. Okay, so we basically have a situation where Abaye allows, Rav Acha to be exposed to this demon. Hopefully he's just sure that a miracle will occur and he will be saved. Hold on. Maybe teaching us the teaching Torah, prioritize learning Torah. That's why we found one who could teach. That's interesting. My dad just wrote something in the comments. I have a lot of family members here, a few students too. Thank you all for joining. It's very exciting. So Dad, we're actually going to get to that later. We're going to get to that point later. Thank you. Okay. So, let's actually analyze what in the world this demon is. As my sister said, what's the deal with this monster, right? What is with this 7-headed monster, right? Marsha asked why, Rivka asked why 7. Marsha was trying to give answers. Maybe it's Corona. We don't know. Let's understand, what is this 7-headed monster? So let's look actually at exactly how it is described in the Gemara. It says, Kitanina de Shiva Reshvate. It's a 7-headed tanina, whatever that is, okay? Or tanin as it would be in Hebrew. So let's actually do it a little backwards. Let's look first at the heads. It has 7 heads. Now, you've all heard the phrase, don't get too big of a head, right? Don't have too, don't get too high on your horse here. So I think actually that's what the Gemara is getting at. They had too big of a head, and they had too many heads, right? The Gemara started off by talking about how if you're really, really bright, you get to take precedence over your father and get to go learn instead. The problem is that if you only focus on intellect, you only focus on how bright you are and how much you hold on to your Torah learning, you forget one of the most important things, and that is humility, right? You forget that it's not really about how smart I am, it's about how much I can learn from everyone else. And I think that's why this demon is coming in the form of 7 heads, right? It's so many heads. They all think of their heads as so big and so important that they were missing the point. And right, it's all about, right, keeping that arrogance in check. And if we actually look at what that mazik was doing, it first of all was attacking during the day. When you're willing to attack during the day, you're not afraid of getting caught, right? You're a little like, oh, I could do this, right? I'm in charge around here. I can handle it, right? you're not afraid of the people who are looking at you because you think you're that good. And the other thing, yes, my sister also mentioned Baba Machteret. That's a little Baba Machteret. Look at her learning Gemara. I'm so proud of her. Okay. And the other one is that it was attacking 2 people at a time. Now, usually a mazik, a demon, only attacked 1 person at a time. And I actually think that the idea behind that is that they actually weren't a pair. If you're super arrogant and you only care about yourself, the person next to you doesn't matter, doesn't exist. I'm more important than them. I know better than them. That person actually isn't really there. You're not a pair. You're actually just 2 individuals walking in at the same time. And so when the mazik was attacking a pair, it was actually just attacking 2 individuals because that's how they saw themselves. So in a lot of ways, just the description of Reshvate, right? Just the description of it having this big head, and of course then going into the different points about what it could do, what it could accomplish, right? It's just painting a picture for us that this demon here is representing the haughtiness of the people in this Beit Midrash. And if you're going to be haughty, you're not allowed into the Beit Midrash. You can't go there or I will attack you because you don't deserve to be here because, you're not here to learn from everyone. So why would you be allowed in? Let's understand Kitanina. And I think it reflects this exact idea. Yes, Tom, we're going to get to Rabbi Akiva too. So Kitanina. There are 2 points I want to make about this. The tanin, right, we know about, it's really translated as a serpent. It could also be like a crocodile. It could be just a monster of some kind. Yes, Ms. Arena, we're going to get to that in a minute. Great. So, right, a tanin is this haughty, arrogant, sneaky kind of serpent or animal, right? It's been depicted in stories throughout time as like a very creepy, sinister, haughty type of animal. And it certainly here is definitely taking the form of something that's very haughty, arrogant, right? It's something that is taking over and dominating, right? But tanina is a word that anybody who's learned Gemara has heard many, many times, right? Tanina, somebody want to tell us what it means? We have a lot of nods. Yes, I saw a few people mouth it, right? We learned in a bright set, right? It's something that is actually a learning word. The word tanina means we will learn in a bright set. We're going to learn from something else. So it's amazing that the word tanina is being used to describe this demon. And I think what it's trying to show us is that Torah has 2 sides, right? Either you could see it in a way where you're here to learn from other sources, other things, let's learn, let's open our minds, or is it there to attack us? Is it something we get so haughty on our high horses that we know so much that it's almost there to be so negative and a negative influence? So I think that word is just very powerful. And the fact that it's 7, 7 is known as the natural number, right? It's the days of the week, it's the natural, right? Shabbos, it's just the same cycle of events. This became their natural way of being. It was just 7. It was the normal. It was the new norm was haughtiness. But there's actually another time in the Torah, I'll see if anybody could remember, another time in the Torah where somebody bows 7 times. Does anybody know what that moment is in the Torah? Yes, you got it. Yaakov, good. My father-in-law just figured that out. I have a lot of family members on here. It's very fun. Yes, Yaakov bowed down 7 times when he first met, well, not the first time, but when he finally met Esav after a long time of running away from him, right? We could look at that as well. That moment when it was very scary, right? Yaakov was extremely nervous. He had been running away from this person for so long, his brother. And And finally, he was going to have this showdown with him, what was going to happen. And you could imagine that all Yaakov wanted to do was chop this guy's head off, right? Just to finally like have some revenge and save himself. But instead, Vayishachavu arza sheva pamim, ad gishto ad achav, right? Until he finally made it to his brother, he just bowed and bowed and bowed. And that's exactly what Mr. Wiener said, right? In order to show somebody that you're not in charge and you're not too haughty and you're not here to go head to head with them, you have to show humility. And the best way to show humility is to bow, right? Is to say, I'm not in charge here. I'm not on your level necessarily. I'm here to kind of prostrate myself and lower myself in your presence. So I think that helps us explain Kitanina Dishiva Reshbate, right? Why heads? Why are there 7 of them? And why is it referred to as a tanin? So let me just make sure I got everything right. And then one more idea. Esav was really the epitome of arrogance in a lot of ways. He thought he could steal everything and take everything and do everything. But Yaakov, by showing that humility, shows that I'm not letting the arrogance take over. I'm not meeting you with arrogance. I'm meeting you with humility. And the Balaturim, by where Yaakov bows 7 times, says that the reason for 7 is Sheva Yipol Tzadik V'Kam, the concept of a tzaddik may fall 7 times, but he has the humility to get back up again, right? He has the, right, even audacity, I would say, to say, you know what, I fell a few times. That's not going to get me down. I can still get back up again, right? I can still stand up. And I think that's exactly what Rav Acha is doing, and exactly what Yaakov is doing, right? Believing that we are fallible, right? We're not these, people who are in charge and can do everything. But at the same time, we can still get back up afterwards. We're humble enough to recognize that we're going to fall, but at the same time, we understand that we can get back up and face our challenges. I saw something in the chat. Okay, cool. Awesome. So I just want to bring it home to now. This is not, a full hour share. I just wanted to share this idea with you. So I want to bring it home to now. So I actually, our school did an amazing thing today, and they had Rabbi Pesach Krohn speak to our school. It was so beautiful. And something he said that really stuck out to me, and we're going to get to now Rabbi Akiva. This is the time where Rabbi Akiva's students passed away for this exact reason, because of this disrespect for each other and the lack of ability to learn from each other and have that arrogance. And he said that's why they had to die now, before Shavuos. They couldn't make it to Shavuos, which was a Torah holiday, a time when we're learning Torah and teaching Torah and expressing Torah. It had to be, they had to pass away now. It had to be before Shavuos. Because as soon as Shavuos comes, we need to celebrate Torah. We need to express it and love it and share it with each other. And people who have that haughtiness and arrogance couldn't actually, be there to celebrate that. So I thought that was a fascinating idea. And, of course, when it comes to Shavuot, right, so that's really the connection to the Omer of this story, to the Omer. But also when it comes to Shavuos, which is a time of Torah learning and a time where we're hopefully, we're all going to be stuck in our houses. So we may as well share Torah with the person next to us and make it a family affair. The Torah was given on Har Sinai. It wasn't given on the tallest mountain or the most beautiful, right? It was given on the simple, humble mountain for a reason. And all of us in our own ways can learn Torah from each other, share it with each other. Because the second we think we have to be all on our high horses and we think we know everything, and you're not allowed into the Beit Midrash at that point. You're not allowed, because you'll die from the demon, right? You'll die from the haughtiness. So Torah is really all about having that humility and realizing that you can learn from anyone or with anyone about anything. And I want to take that even a step further. We spent this time learning all of this from a story. Imagine what would have happened if we skipped over that part of the story, right? And we kind of just learned the halacha and moved on. What we would have been stuck with is this idea, just this one halacha, this one idea that, you should send your kid out to learn Torah if he's smarter than you, right? Or the father should go out if he's smarter than him. And that's not the full picture, because if you're left only with that, the only picture you have is that it's important to be smart. And that's where it ends. But the story, shows us how to live with that. How do you live with Torah being, the guiding point of your life and going to the Beit Midrash? And what is it like to actually go to the Beit Midrash? You go to the Beit Midrash with humility, right? That you need that extra aspect. Rabbi Yehuda didn't mention it in his list, but really it was the only way anybody could enter, and it was the only way Rav Acha was actually able to conquer this demon. And I guess I just want to say also that, on Yantif, if you're not sure what to learn or you're not sure what to share, just go for a story, right? Find those stories that are part of your past or that are part of the Torah, that are part of the Gemara, and explore it. What does it mean to you? What does it teach you? What ideas does it, what resonates with you? And because that's Torah too. That's really where we learn Torah as well. So thank you all for listening. If you have any final comments, please feel free to share. Right, exactly, Melissa, exactly. It's not really about the level, right? It's just the fact that we're all part of it. Everyone was at Matan Torah. It didn't matter who you were. And in fact, we were all in a perfect circle around it, right? It wasn't like some people got closer or further. Anyways, have a wonderful Shavuot.
Thank you so much.
Chaim, I would love to read that. Thank you.
That was very good. Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining. I know it's late, so thank you so much for staying on.
Thank you.
Great job.